Friday today and you want to see a Hindi film in a theatre, let's see which films are up for release. Kal Ho Na Ho, Karan Arjun, Andaz Apna Apna and Kaho Na Pyar Hai. No, don't be surprised as these are the films slotted to be released in the next 2 to 3 months. Takes you back to the 2000s, doesn't it? Well, now the trend of re-releasing films is not new to Bollywood. It was quite prevalent even in the 1970s, 1980s and even in the 1990s. However, the current re-release trend time is difficult to pinpoint, but it may have started with Amitabh Bachchan retrospective in October 2022 or the re-release of Mahesh Babu's 2006 hit Pokiri in August 2022. But then it is in 2024, it seems that the floodgates have opened yet again. We've seen series of films from 1990s onwards being re-released. So today, we are talking about why is this happening? Is it just nostalgia or is there business involved as well? And also, on the business of re-releasing the films, do these films need any investment? So to talk about this and join me in the discussion, I have with me producer and screenplay writer Saurabh Verma and Girish Wankhede, a film trade analyst. Welcome to you gentlemen to the News9 Plus Show. Well, I begin the conversation with Girish Wankhede. You know, Girish, I want you to help us understand, and this is from a completely statistical and analytical point of view, what are the numbers that are coming in for these movies? We've seen these have been hits, the movies that we've just named. I mean, Kal Ho Na Ho, in fact, is to release tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, re-release tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. What are the numbers that have come in so far with the re-releases we've already seen?
Thank you. The first is the biggest hit in this recent time is, of course, Tumbad and Laila Majnu. So the numbers, if we see, Tumbad is somewhere around 16 to 20 crores, which is a big number. Likewise, if we talk about Laila Majnu, which was re-released, and that was re-released only because Tripti Dimri became suddenly a very huge star. And when it was released initially, there were no takers. But with the name and fame of Tripti Dimri, this film was re-released and it did considerable business of around 8 to 10 crores. So these numbers, if we see, these are amazing numbers because once you do a theatrical release, it's already been theatrically exploited. But when you are re-releasing the film, obviously these numbers add on the wonderful shelf life of the film. Also, there are several reasons because of these films become hit. And when you see these numbers, obviously you get inclined to release other films as well, like Karan Arjun, which will be released in a big way. Also, there are talks that there is a remastering of sound has been done for Andaz Apna Apna, which will be re-released in the coming year. So obviously, the business is there, but there are certain reasons. We can go to the reasons also as well, why that is happening. But as far as the numbers are concerned, they are amazing. They are good, positive.
Right, Girish, I'll shortly come to you with regards to the reasons. But Saurabh, I would like to take this question from you next. In fact, from basing it on the point that Girish has made here. It's quite interesting to see the day and time that this re-releasing phenomena has come in. Because in today's day, we see it is quite accessible for any viewer to just tap into any of the OTT platforms and go and watch their favorite movies instead of waiting for a re-release. So what is it that the directors, the producers of these movies from back in the day have thought behind these re-releases? What is it amid a time when we see content being king and new content being king that these re-releases are taking place? Why have they bet on this?
So there's a joke in the industry that, Pooja Entertainment released Ganpat and then they re-released a film called Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein. And the first day of Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein was higher than what Ganpat collected throughout. So I guess, so there are 2-3 things to this. One, obviously, is that the films have not, the trend of re-releasing is not new. It's been there since As far as I can remember, films like Sholay, Dilwale Dulhania have been releasing in gap weeks all throughout. But post-pandemic, there's a certain trend, and I think that trend is basically people do not want to waste time. People want to, have some kind of a value for their time, even if they're going for a movie. And movie is an experience for them. So rather than investing in a film which is not looking good, maybe it's new or whatever, but it's looking like very formulaic. They would want to invest their time in a film which they know that they've seen it, they've experienced it, and they want to experience it in a big screen. And that's why films like Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein or Imtiaz Ali's Rockstar or several other films, including Tumbad, which didn't open well in its for the first time when it opened, and it's done a business of around 15 to 20 crores in the second opening run. And even Laila Majnu was a disaster when it opened because nobody knew the star cast. But throughout as the time passed, the songs really caught on. Tripti Dimri became the nation's heartthrob, and the second run, it made a lot of money. So I guess people, it's a great medium of escape, and it's a short way of knowing, okay, we are not going to get bored, we are not going to we're not going to be shortchanged with mediocre script because we know what the content is. Another example is Incredibles, the last franchise release after decades, and why it did so much of good businesses because the earlier parts were watched on DVD, on OTT, on various digital platforms, and there was a cult following for that film. So I think all these films have now a fan base and a following, which they would want to experience in the big screen.
Girish, that's a very interesting point that's been raised by Saurabh. Firstly, my question is there a code that they have cracked? Is there an equation that they have cracked here? Because, of course, there have been re-releases in the past as well. But these many re-releases, and that too all blockbuster movies that we've seen, like some of the names that I just took while I was introducing this very story, they are blockbuster names. We've all grown up watching these on our television sets, and we've also been waiting for it to be accessible on OTT platforms. So is there a code that Bollywood has cracked for which they are planning so many re-releases? And secondly, would people rather actually then, go and watch these old movies compared to the new stories that are coming up?
Actually, these films are not competing with the new films. There is this year, unfortunately, there is dearth of new films. We are not very strong on content this year. That's why these films initially were used as fillers because we didn't have that much continuous engagement or continuous content creation. That's why there was a certain gap. So they were used to as fillers. But as soon as we started looking at the business, then various old blockbusters also are now in the pipeline to be released. The first thing is every film has been already exploited, but if there is anything additional which is coming as revenue for this film, then it is a wonderful welcome for every producer. That's why they are re-releasing. Secondly, all these films are to be enjoyed in larger than life atmosphere, that is big screen. So even if they're available on OTT, people would love to go and experience that nostalgia. It has certain brand value. And then there is digital mastering of sound and technique also, which becomes a novelty again. So that regular charm is there. In addition, there is a business sense also, because while Gadar 2 was released, there was a re-release of Gadar 1. So that re-release of Gadar 1 has helped Gadar 2 to build up. So this is also a business equation. So when now similar to this, if Laila Majnu is a huge hit, then obviously it will help the upcoming releases of Tripti Dimri as well. So it makes business sense. And then suddenly when you see box office potential also, it simply means that people are there waiting to experience the nostalgic films again in bigger screens. So it's a win-win situation for everybody, the exhibitors, the producers, and of course for the audience as well.
Saurabh, that actually brings us to a very important point, which is there was a time I remember during pandemic when there was this rampant discussion about So is theatre going to die with OTT coming in? Is all content going to, be only released on OTT, since it's so easily accessible? It's right there on your fingertips at all times. But I think this re-releasing phenomena actually gives the answer years after COVID that yes, no matter what OTT content has to, deliver, but people, especially in India, live for that larger than life experience. They want to go out and go to the theatres. And definitely there is a reason we still have DDLJ playing at Maratha Mandir even now. I think this is one of the biggest answers for that. And
so basically, if I give an example, and I completely agree with you, the example of films can be compared to any other business like food or restaurant. You may cook the best food at home, but once in a while you'd like to go out. Once in a weekend you'd like to go out and enjoy a good gourmet in a good restaurant. So same for films. You may watch films in OTT, see it all day night. But once in a weekend, and Indians don't go to fish, and they're not there are not too many people who go to pubs or nightclubs, or they don't have a life beyond their working culture, except for films and cricket, obviously. But films is one of their lifelines of Indians. So if there is a good content, and that's also a message to people who are making films, there's so much of quantum coming, there's so many things coming. I think these are exciting times where a film may not work in its first run, but there's always a chance that people may latch it up through other means of digital streaming and would want to watch it on a big screen. And I think it's a very heartening thing.
right, Saurabh, so help us understand this as well. What is the process behind these re-releases? What are the mechanisms involved in these re-releases that are being made?
So basically, one is obviously the fan base kinds of creates a noise in the social media. Secondly, first people thought that okay, maybe it's the particular genre of rom-com which people want to see, but then Tumbad came and that made a difference. Gadar 2 made a difference. So there is some kind of a nostalgia element which the programmers or the cinema programmers are wondering that if it's nostalgia, how far can it go? Will a Karan Arjun work? Will a Shah Rukh Khan's old film work? So everybody's trying their own things and seeing what is working. Out of the 10 films which are re-released, I think 5 to 6 are working, 4 are not working. So they're replacing and trying and testing all films which have nostalgic value.
Right. Girish, I'll come back to you, and I'd started off with a statistical question, and I'm going to end this conversation on a financial, economical note as well. Help us understand the economics involved behind this, because they're investing, they're putting in money into these re-releases yet again. So how is that entire process working out? While Saurabh has explained the creative process involved, the marketing process involved, take us through the economics behind it.
No, see, the economics is very simple. The film is with you, and you have already exploited it theatrically, on digitally also. But now, when your film is there, you need to do digital mastering of the film. You need to enhance the video quality of the film. Once that is done, then you again put in into P&A. So P&A is print and advertising, where you put some money for marketing of the film. You do the press releases. Again, the PR machinery is revamped, and then you do small media buying, and because of Book My Show and Paytm, the film is there. So the investment is very less because there is a certain brand value, and because of digital promotion of also in various platforms or the verticals, the film is promoted in a very, very less amount. So the economics is very, very simple, and it is a limited release. It's not a pan-India huge release. So you have a control on your economics of investment. That is, if you are marketing and distributing films, it goes with a very, very less money, because your exhibitors come on ratio. Then your marketing spend is very less, because there is a certain brand value. People know about the film. So only 1 or 2 PR stories here and there will serve the purpose. So overall, if you see, re-releasing becomes a very big business, because you have just invested some amount, say 1% or 2% of the amount in the post-production.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but just taking an example here, what would you do with a movie like Andaz Apna Apna? It had flopped when it had initially released. Yeah.
So for Andaz Apna Apna, you will remaster the sound and video quality, which they are right now doing. So that post-production work will not take more than say 20-25 lakhs. After that, for a digital promotion and a PR promotion, it will not be another 20-25 lakhs. So that will be 50 lakhs is your marketing and post-production budget, and then the distribution. So the bigger you distribute, the bigger number of screen count you do, the bigger is the investment. So another 1 crore you put. So your for the distribution. So your overall investment is around 1.5 crores. And if you do with a film of Amir Khan and Salman Khan, just you do the re-release, and you will see that this film will not make less than 5 crores as your share. So your investment was only 1.5 crores. But
So
you
that's a
will be
big
getting
profit
anything
margin,
above
right.
5 crores. That is
Right,
the business.
right. I mean, interesting times ahead in the Bollywood, in fact, within the sign world, with these re-releases happening. Of course, a period of nostalgia. Saurabh, yes, a closing comment from you?
Yeah, and it also opens opportunity for sequels because Tombar 2 has been announced, and though I don't think Laila Majnu 2 is possible because the protagonist died, but there's always a possibility of building a franchise with this nostalgia value. So it gives a lot of hope to the makers as well as audience who's becoming really smart. They're consuming the content only what they like. They will not buy what you want to sell. They will buy what they like, and it can pass through the test of time as well.
So it's like taking you back there. It's just like rejogging the audience's memory before you, in fact, announce the sequel. That's a great marketing technique for sure. Well, Saurabh Verma and Girish Wankhede joining us on News9 Plus for this discussion. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us here. News9 Plus did a report on the re-release of films from the 90s like Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge and Hum Aapke Hai Kaun, Veer Zara, churning out the moolah once more at the box office. Watch our story with the same name rewind and replay only on News9 Plus.
Picture this. It's the 90s, the golden age of Bollywood. Movie halls are packed. Every Friday feels like a carnival of cinema. Films like Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge and Hum Aapke Hain Kaun are ruling the box office, and fans are dancing in the aisles to Chhaiya Chhaiya. Fast forward to 2024. Today's film buff has seen it all. The blockbusters, the OTT revolution, and the pandemic that almost brought the curtains down on theatres. But guess what? Old is gold again. Play it again.
The owner was skeptical about how many people would turn up. But in 1.5 hours, his show was booked. In 6 hours, Saturday and Sunday shows were also booked. So then they had to increase the shows, and then they doubled it, and then they tripled it, and it's been 5 weekends already, and it's still running in Srinagar.
I actually went and watched it on the weekend with my husband, who was seeing it for the first time, and some of my friends, and it was so special to hear the clapping and the whistling and people singing the songs as they were playing out on screen. It was special.
I think a re-release of Mr. India would be a great idea, and I would encourage Mr. Boni Kapoor to go ahead and release the film.